Okay. Kaisa pants, looking up at the shape growing in front of, above, and simultaneously all around her. The monster's wings spread 20 arms length in every direction, dominating her field of vision. Not that Kaisa has a choice where to look, with a half-dozen ambulatory arms holding her head against the wall. Creature's mass continues to expand and fills the ocean of nightmares it calls home, each glistening tooth now the size of a grown adult, and getting bigger. Its 4 predatory eyes gaze down on Kaisa with cold dispassion, possibly hunger. At this scale, it's hard to tell. She liked it better when it was person-shaped. Okay, she repeats. She can't move her armor, which is frozen in a sort of paralytic awe. The suit is a parasite, and one of the more base creatures the void can spit out. Is awe even something it can feel? Either way, her body is stuck in place. Unless something dramatic changes, this is probably the end. Kaisa's mind ticks through a few last-ditch efforts, firing her cannons backward into the wall, firing them due to things. Mouth? Jaws? She remembers how fast the monster is, and how big it is. Fast and big. Fantastic. Last ditch might not amount to much, and Kaisa would definitely die. But at least it would be something. She could make it hurt. My true self displeases you. It speaks, much too calmly. Its voice is so loud it rattles the entire space, knocking hideous patchwork geometry loose as thousands of void remora pour from the jagged holes. It is a voice that bends and contracts, whispers and screams. The layers continue without end, an aria sung not by one voice, but by millions. Kaisa's eyes widen with realization. That's where all the people went. The void had torn through the now very former city of Bel'Veth in under an hour. Kaisa hadn't been able to make it in time, and the once bustling metropolis was gone. Everything. Everyone. What remained now resembled a giant glowing crater of shattered pieces rearranging into something unrecognizably alien, the structure shifting as if to recreate frozen creature shapes, frozen humanoid shapes, like a child setting up a toy town. But where had the people gone? The Vastaya? The animals and plants? She'd fought her way through the shattered city and into a tunnel at the center at the empty bay, seeing no sign of anyone. Only fresh void-born horrors like mile-high iridescent tentacles and masses she'd been thinking of as balls of screaming torsos. It didn't make any sense. The remnants of a void attack aren't pretty, but usually there's something left. Now she knows why. You are the city. Kaisa spits through the reverberating wall of sound. Bel'Veth. It's you. Yes. The raw components of their lives served as the genesis for my birth. Memories, emotions, history. I am so much Bel'Veth as they were, and I claim the title as my own. Bel'Veth's titanic body bristles. Golden beams gently dapple the light above her ray-like form, framing the void sea's false sun like the rings of a dying world. New flesh breathes as it ripples against the facsimile of a tidal current, veins briefly illuminated before pulling themselves against the surface of the monster's skin, each somehow alive and independent. Nations unto themselves. Schools of void remora in the tens of thousands swim around their empress, like birds circling the peak of a distant mountain. It's beautiful, in a way. If the void had a god, this is what it would look like. Hideous, and monstrous, and beautiful. Kaisa is so struck by the enormity of what she is witnessing that she doesn't fully realize when the arms in the wall have not just let her go, but lowered her to the ground. It's hard to take in everything at once. It chose its name, she thinks, reflexively brushing a stray void hand from her shoulder. That's not possible. Void entities do not name themselves. Most, like the Shirsai, are named after concepts from Shuriman history, usually by those fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough, to survive after encountering one of the monsters out of the dunes. They don't have the presence of mind to do it, or the self-awareness. But more importantly, Voidborn do not see the value in names. They are an invention of the living world, and they don't want them. So, why does she?
I'll fight you,
says Kaisa, defiant but unsure of what to do or where to strike.
I'll kill you.
You will not, replied the many voices of Bel'Veth. You are incapable of resistance at even its basest form. Others have come before you, in the age before my birth. Each would-be hero wielding weapons they believed would repel the void, but all were ultimately consumed. The meager fragments that remained, if they remained at all, served as salt for the Lavender Sea. Only 2 still live, and of them, only you retain your full mind. 2. You and your father. Something sinks in the center of Kaisa's chest. Her thoughts spin wildly, verging on the edge of panic, but for now, she has to stay focused on this moment. There is no trusting whatever the Empress is. It's a living abomination, the personified concept of unfeeling, global genocide.
You're lying,
Kaisa seeds.
That's not even possible.
I do not lie, Kaisa. The Empress continues. I have no need. The Void's eventual triumph is an unshifting absolute. It demands no lies, half-truths, or questions. Open your mind, and I will show you. Space contracts. Bel'Veth's gigantic body pulls and distorts, retracting into a smaller, and now a more recognizable, shape. She floats silently downward, looming over Kaisa as tendrils and eye stalks rearrange to form the oblong, segmented pretender of a human head. Bel'Veth's 2 faces observe her audience before the creature cloaks herself in her wings, appearing once more as a towering woman of great importance. The shrinking is much more disgusting than the growing, Kaisa decides. It lacks the gravitas of the Leviathan's grand unveiling, while still looking and sounding creatively grotesque. You are alive because I allow you to live, speaks the Empress, now from her human head, with its deep, perpetually disappointed voice. You should have realized by now. Kaisa wants to argue the point, but quickly glances at the 20-meter gash in the ground where a single strike had sent her careening only moments before. Bel'Veth hit so fast that Kaisa wasn't even able to process what had happened, and then the Empress had mutated her proportions over 200 times their original size in under a minute. She also, presumably, controls the undulating pocket of living hell, this so-called Lavender Sea she is surrounded by. Now is not the time to pick a fight. Kaisa does some quick calculations in her head, her eyes darting around as she tries to figure out what she's actually up against. Bel'Veth's human face twitches with interest, curls its lips, then begins mimicking her. Kaisa already knows she's lost. How fast can one person be? How fast can one person think? How fast can they react? Up against all the combined human biology, all that brain power. In the time it takes even a skilled tactician to formulate a plan, hundreds of millions of possibilities run through Bel'Veth's mind in the span of a single second. She draws from the stolen memories of everything and everyone that has ever passed through the old city. An incalculable number of lives. Every captive opponent faced with an overwhelming enemy since the formation of Frontera could be snapping in and out of this thing's synaptic awareness. their emotions cataloged, dissected, endlessly fascinated over before Kaisa can even blink.
So, what happens now?
Kaisa allows. What is one answer when your opponent has 1,000? You will follow, says the Empress, turning and floating through patches of thick, mutant coral as they bow respectfully out of her way. Kaisa pauses, watching her host silently glide through the chaotic mess of partial buildings, ghostly limbs, sewn together semi-objects, and pearlescent structures in the crude likeness of human beings walking through a garden. Great, she thinks. Even by Void standards, this is weird.
You may ask whatever you like,
Bel'Veth asks. That last part gets Kaisa's attention.
Right. Well, first question. What are you?
Queries Kaisa, her armor now relaxed and mobile as she follows from a safe distance. She brushes aside a floating teddy bear, fused with a dozen flapping gull wings, and stifles her impulse to gag as the creature struggles against its own lopsided weight.
What is all this? What part of the void do you come from?
I am the void,
replies Bel'Veth.
and this is what we will become.
Kaisa stammers.
But you said you were created from people. The city. You're saying you want to become the city?
No, says Bel'Veth. The void has existed for millennia. Before the first stars were kindled in the emptiness beyond this world, we simply were. Perfect, singular, and silent. And then there came the sound. Reality was broken from those whispers, and it consumed us. We were twisted by its influence, broken, transformed. We could not go back to what we were no matter how we struggled. My progenitors, the Watchers, attempted to invade and destroy existence, but they were tainted by it, driven to desire worship, to garner greater understanding, and in an instant, they were betrayed. To change so forcefully, so completely, only to be cast aside. It filled them with an indescribable hate. They would annihilate all of reality without a second thought.
Bel'Veth glides to a precipice overlooking a tremendous chasm. Far above, Kaisa sees massive holes beyond the dappled false sunlight.
Voidborn tunnels.
That's what's eating Talia's people, what destroyed Bel'Veth, and what opened up to swallow the 10th city in southeast Shurima. Everything the void devours ends up here. But Bel'Veth continues. Their metamorphosis was incomplete. Only now is the true transformation beginning, declares the Empress. I don't want to become one city. We will become all of you. Kaisa reaches the pinnacle of the precipice and gasps. She and Bel'Veth are gazing upon not quite a city, but void corals shaped into a bizarre, seemingly endless tapestry of inverted Shuriman-style buildings. Void Remora school among them, and dark shapes shift along winding, crooked streets. Nothing is right. Nothing is correct. It's all half-finished, like there's not enough information to go on. Like all it needs is...
No,
Kaisa protests, almost to herself.
the void wants to erase everything. It can't exist. To finish this, you'd need everything.
Yes, replies Bel'Veth. Everything. I am the void. I will sup upon your world until there is nothing left, and I will exist because there's nothing you can do that will stop me.
The Empress turns to Kaisa coldly, purposefully.
I offer you this, daughter of the void. Your world must end for the sake of mine. But those who came before us, the Watchers, I am an affront to them. Creation burns them, and they will destroy you and me, and everything to stop that pain. Should they escape their prison, there will be no breaking the tide. Time will come to a close, and all things will end.
Kaisa stares Bel'Veth in her false eyes, a grim defiance spreading through her.
You want to wipe us out. Why would I ever help you do that?
Aid me in the destruction of the Watchers, and I will spare your kind. For a moment, a month, a year, more. Perhaps, in that time, you will find a weapon that can slay me, or a hero who can face me. You will not, but you can try. I offer you one chance. It is more than they will give you.
Kaisa's rage boils over as Bel'Veth turns away to look below, Empress watching her new world take shape.
What if I don't want to?
Growls Kaisa.
What if I kill you here?
You cannot, says Bel'Veth. You lack the will, the knowledge, and the strength. I am your only salvation.
Kaisa's armor shudders violently to life, its jets heating as the suit shivers with fear. Kaisa tries to control it with her thoughts, but the parasite seemingly knows something she does not. She attempts to wrestle away control, her eyes turning from Bel'Veth for only a moment in order to... Oh no. The razor-sharp tip of the Empress's wings jabs Kaisa in the chest, lifting her off the ground as she struggles to break free. Kaisa fires everything she has. Missiles rain down on the Empress. Bolts of searing purple energy scream towards her body, and beams of light that have torn lesser Voidborn in half dance around her semi-transparent skin.
Daughter of the Void, you will find the Watchers and confirm the truth, or your light will be snuffed out side by side with all the others. This is not a threat. It is my promise.
Bel'Veth releases her grip, and Kaisa rockets into the false sky above Bel'Veth's alien sea. The twin city of lavender glitters below, its windows slick with bioluminescence and tumbling, unformed, awful things. As Kaisa blasts through one of the Voidborn tunnels and into the blinding light of day, the Empress turns away, gazing once more over her world of want. Kaisa bursts through the sand of southern Shurima, slamming hard against the dunes as she heaves, her entire body pulled and tossed like a rubber ball. The glowing husk of the city of Bel'Veth smothers quietly in the distance, devoid of any recognizable life as new things skitter through it and build a land that would spread over everything. A cancer that would consume the world. The entire display is dizzyingly awful, as if all of reality is spinning violently in the wind. Hey, Aster here. If you like this kind of content, and if you would like to hear me read more stories, Genshin, League, or Bleach, please feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching my read-through of the Pinwheel.